Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Getting Speakers Booked, a podcast by speakers for speakers. As always, if you are a new or re-emerging speaker who wants to find community with other speakers to get on more stages, learn from the best of the best, but also just have a really great time, you can join our free Facebook community, link in the description, called the Speakers Supporting Speakers group, as well as join us every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern for Friday Networking, which is an hour. We have our speaker of the week who has talks about whatever topic they are an expert in, as well as 30 minutes of curated breakout sessions. Today, I'm so excited to have my guest Anjan with us today. Anjan, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Macy.
Yeah, well, Anjan and I know each other because he gave a TEDx talk with on the same stage as my dad last year, and it was so great to kind of get to know you, Anjan, through that process because I don't think there's anything more humbling than going through the process of preparing for a TEDx talk. So we really saw each other at the bare bones. But I mean, Anjan already had so much of his elements and his talk put together beforehand, which was a huge plus. Anjan, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you're an expert in?
Yep. Thank you, Macy, for that introduction. Yes, I had a nice time, connecting with you on TEDx and being on the same stage as your dad. I am a Gen Z leadership expert. What I do is I work with corporate managers to increase their productivity by making their young talent, a Gen Z workforce that they have, become effective communicators and leadership ready. This way, the Gen Z gets their own visibility, but managers get productivity.
That's a great way to put it. How did you get into something like this?
My own corporate experience over 20 years, and I can never forget the year 2008. I was new into the corporate job, and the whole world was going through a turmoil. I don't know if many people here in listeners of the podcast even recollect, but it was a period where market was going through a lot of turmoil, jobs were getting lost, people were getting fired, and I was in that storm. Somebody new who joined the corporate workforce. I quickly realized that none of my degrees, credentials really mattered. What really mattered was if I can add value to the company I was working for. That really sparked the whole journey in me that it is not talent, but the ability to train yourself to be communicating well, to take the initiative so people recognize that you're really a contributor. So that's what sparked my journey, and today I'm working with that passion so that our generation is completely on a path where they can be really influential.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved what you said about training yourself too. So many of us are kind of built to believe that if we don't have it in the first minute or so, we'll never have it, which is probably one of the most untrue statements that anyone could ever say. Because, like you said, it doesn't come down to talents, right? It doesn't come to being just the best in your field, which is already great, but it's taking that initiative, being able to communicate with your maybe superiors, with your teammates. If you're not able to collaborate on projects, make sure it gets done. No one wants to give you that responsibility. And then on the other end, like, then your managers and your bosses start to feel like they're working more on your project than you are on yours. And so that's where you come in and really help them instill that confidence, but also the systems in place to make sure that they can build those habits for themselves.
Absolutely, I bridge that gap that is so important for both sides.
Absolutely, and that's so cool. So I would love to learn a little bit about if anyone's listening and they're kind of in that field. Maybe it's a Gen Z, new to the workforce or in the workforce, or maybe it's one of those corporate managers. Say, just give us a little flavor of what it is that you're teaching them and how do you do that?
Sure. Most people, Gen Z who enter the workforce, they have a different background of understanding of how corporate things work. So the first thing I always train them is to connect with the problem the organization is trying to solve. The more you understand the problem, the more you figure out how you can help solve it through any of your skill sets. It could be collaboration, it could be delegation, it could be research. There could be so many dimensions of your strength. Identify how that strength can help solve the problem you are dealing with. The moment you show love for the problem, people show love for you because they just cannot ignore you because you're making their lives easy.
My gosh, I've never really thought of it that way of showing love to the problem. But I think that it goes great to what you're saying is, you're not having that fear, right? Like we can feel that fear and the hesitation, and that holds ourselves back, right? So it holds us back from achieving that potential or really being able to attack the problem head on and being like, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of how I have to get my hands dirty. And I think it's sometimes funny when we say things like these and it's like, these are all like corporation work or like maybe data work versus like I don't think you work with anyone who like pours concrete for a living, but we get scared sometimes of like the numbers in our files. Or the people sitting in our emails. We're like, I can't do it. It's so scary.
Absolutely, that's
Yeah.
so true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what I would love for you to share a little bit about your own story when it came to kind of realizing how you were able to implement some of these skills and show your proactiveness, especially during something like the 2008 layoffs, which I was technically too young for, but I know of it. So it is kind of funny that you mentioned like, yeah, maybe a lot of us don't remember 2008, but I think we all know at least to an extent the effect of it.
Yeah. There's not much difference between 2008 crash and what's happening right now in the world of, employment as such. Today, AI is taking over everything, and people are worried about what is their place in the whole ecosystem. How are they going to find jobs? How are they going to retain their jobs? Back then, the financial turmoil created a situation where people, even with experience, like 10 years, 15 years experience, who've been experts at their field, they were also being let go. So in my situation, I had many mentors, experts who trained and who knew the job very well, but they were let go, and I was worried. And I still remember the meeting in which my manager said, if you add value, only then you survive here. Your job is here. Otherwise, we can't let you, we have to let you go. And it just dawned upon me, and I asked this question. Well, you hired me for the skills because you interviewed me, you looked at my degrees, resumes, and skill sets. You know that I can solve a problem, and now you're telling me that until I add value, none of this matters. And he told me, what you came in with doesn't matter. What you build now matters. That created a huge shift in my thinking, and I began to say, if I cannot solve a problem at the workplace, then probably I'm not the right person here to be. Which means it pushed me into a direction to identify the problem, love the problem the company is trying to solve. They had a problem of customer retention. They had challenges with that, with the whole process. And they knew they need technical expertise to help solve that problem. So I really got almost like I fell in love with the problem. So the more I fell in love with the problem and trying to understand the pieces of it together, I really came up with a solution. The moment I
Yeah.
came up with the solution and I started sharing with everybody, that's it. People just began to really resonate with it and started collaborating, figuring out how do we get that solution out the door. And that, when eventually it went out the door, the whole customer retention surged completely. It used to take like, manual process that would take them probably hours together to fix and retain a customer. But this automated system reduced it to under 90 seconds. That really propelled everything and changed the way customers would be retained. It just came into my awareness that if people really were to understand the problem they're trying to solve and put their strengths into it and learn, it takes them, climb up like anything in their thinking and in their professional career.
Wow, that's a great story. I love what you're saying about, it doesn't matter what you came in with, it's what you build now. I think so many managers can relate and understand that. And I think anyone in any type of leadership position has that expectation kind of almost unknowingly put on some of the people entering the team or the group or whatever that looks like, or the job. So it's great for us to start learning as soon as possible that, hey, this is a developing environment. It's not a stagnant environment. You're not expected to just stay at this level for your entire life. I would hope you don't want something like that. And I would love for you to share, what's your one quote about falling to your habits?
Yes. And when pressure hits, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We actually fall back to our habits. It's inspired by, James Clear, who's author of Atomic Habits. But for me personally, it's always been like this. When pressure hits, goals fade and habits take over.
Absolutely. I love it. I mean, I heard it back all the way in what must have been October at this point of 2025, and now it's February of 2026, and I still remember so clearly that quote. Huge hats off to you, Anjan, for something like that. Do you want to talk just a
Thank you.
few minutes on your TEDx journey and what that was like to actually be able to give your TEDx talk? How was that?
Yes, yes, thank you. And thank you for, having you, your dad, and your brother part of that, journey in TEDx. My journey in TEDx, I can tell you this, applying almost 68 stages, failing, and
Wow.
the 69th time, getting picked was a huge thing. It was kind of a journey that I was so much, I just thought maybe it's not going to happen, but I just kept it going and finally, it happened. The journey definitely was very humbling. I really learned so much by collaborating with all the other fellow speakers, understanding what their stories are, what their ideas are. It really made me a better person of myself, looking at all of them and the work they put into that. As far as my TEDx thing goes, it was a learning experience for me personally as well, because the story I wanted to share and the idea I wanted to bring was the one that really changed me in my school days.
Yeah, and it's an amazing talk, so I'll make sure I have a link to it in the description. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, please do, especially if you are a parent, if you're a teenager or a Gen Z or whatever that looks like, or just at any age. I think so many people can find that value. It's just such a great story. I remember it so clearly now. I mean, obviously, I also worked with you a lot on the talk, and I heard you speak it a few times as well, and it's really amazing. So, Anjan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, sharing a few minutes of your expertise. This is incredible. If someone wants to learn a little bit more about you, what you're doing, how you're helping people, or maybe for their stages or for their own lives, what's the best way that they can find and get in touch with you?
Sure. Thank you, Macy, first of all. So I'll be sharing my LinkedIn thing for you. People can connect with me on LinkedIn, where I post interesting things about how the gap between managers and Gen Z can be bridged. People can also connect with me on my Instagram, so I'll be sharing those social media handles as well. And of course, please, watch my TEDx video. Hope it resonates with you. And it's been a pleasure, Macy.
It really has been. So thank you so much. I'll make sure I have all those links and everything that he mentioned in the description. Click, copy, and paste, check it out, sign up, do all the things, connect with Anjan. He's an amazing person to connect with, even just to kind of see what he's up to. He's always doing something very cool. Thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Macy. And for the benefit of all the listeners, I'll be sharing a free ebook that they can download. I'll be sharing that link as well. That'll be pretty useful for everybody, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I read through it and it's really, really great. He has some amazing stories and some amazing testimonies in there. So thank you so much for that. I'll make sure I have everyone can
Thank you,
copy,
Macy.
paste, link, click, whatever down below. So again, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. And for everyone watching and listening, I really appreciate you. Again, if you're a speaker, new, re-emerging, just really going for it, all of the levels of speakers, and you want to be part of a community of like-minded speakers, and Anjan is also part of our group as well. So if you want to talk to him there, you can definitely jump on in and talk to him. Our free Facebook community, link in the description, as well as our Friday networkings, which all happen on Zoom every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's an amazing, amazing community. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.